Welcome, and thank you for joining me. It's for another gentle descent into the past. Tonight, we'll journey to a world of shimmering mosaics, candlelit corridors, and a court wrapped in both glory, and silence. A world where the scent of burning incense lingered in the air, and the soft shuffling of silk sandals echoed through marble halls. This is Byzantium. Not the fierce marching legions of Rome, not the chaotic tumble of medieval Europe, but something else entirely. A world suspended between east and west, heaven and earth, pageantry and paranoia. And within this world were men who did not quite belong. Neither noble nor commoner, neither warrior nor priest, neither fully man, nor fully accepted. They were the eunuchs. Castrated as boys, they were raised in quiet chambers, cloaked in secrecy, and trained to serve emperors, sometimes command their armies. Some were barely seen. Others held the strings of power with astonishing calm. Tonight, we follow in their quiet footsteps. We'll begin, as always, not with kings or cathedrals, but with daily life. Soft candle glows on a writing desk. A robe is folded. A scroll is unrolled. And the distant echo of footsteps reminds you, this palace never truly sleeps. Now, let us step into the shoes of a Byzantine eunuch. Imagine yourself waking before dawn in the cool hush of a chamber tucked deep inside the great palace of Constantinople. The walls are stone, but softened by fine tapestries, depicting saints, emperors, and winged angels in flowing robes. Your bed is narrow. Your sleep has been light. You do not dream often anymore. A servant arrives without knocking. He knows better. A bowl of warm water is left on a bronze stand. There is no conversation, no need. You rise, and your body moves with practiced economy. Your feet find your slippers before you're fully awake. The day ahead is already written for you. By someone else. You are not quite a man, by their measure. But you are not a child either. You live in the space between. As you walk the palace halls, your robe sways just above polished tiles in patterns of deep blue and ochre. The scent of myrrh drifts through the air from a nearby chapel. Chanting has already begun. You do not pause. Your presence is expected elsewhere. You were taken, or perhaps sold. Sold as a child. You may not even remember your name before, but your training was meticulous. You were taught Greek, Latin, court etiquette, theology, politics, how to observe without seeming to, how to speak without offending, and how to hold power without visibly holding it. Now your day begins with documents, seals pressed into wax, letters to distant bishops. Oh, you are a bridge between worlds, between the emperor and the court, between the military and the church, between order and chaos. You speak softly, but people listen, 'cause they must. You are the voice of someone above them. You eat alone, usually, not because you are unliked, but because no one knows quite what to say to you. At the communal tables, soldiers talk of their wives, clerks of their children, merchants of their sons. You, remain silent. There are no stories for you to tell, but the evening brings a different rhythm. Sometimes the emperor summons you, a quiet conversation in a candlelit study. He trusts you because you cannot found a dynasty, cannot take the throne in the way others might. You cannot threaten him. You offer counsel on treaties, rebellions, tax policies, or rumors from Armenia. He listens. He always listens. Later, as the palace sleeps beneath its starry domes, you return to your chambers. The silence returns with you. Not cold, but constant. You kneel before your small icon, perhaps, of the Virgin or the Archangel Michael, and say your prayers. Not for children, not for love, perhaps only for peace. Then, you extinguish the lamp, and once again, you sleep in silence. In the long shadow of the Western Roman Empire's collapse, a man emerged. Quietly was Narses. From the margins, his name, He was not born into power. He was not born into wealth. And, like the others in his position, he was not even permitted to father children. Serving at the heart of the Eastern Roman Byzantine court in the 6th century, Narses was a eunuch, as many eunuchs did in the Sacrum Cubiculum, the sacred chamber of the emperor. But his story was not one of candles and scrolls. It's a man obsessed with rebuilding the faded grandeur of Rome. And silence would not. It was a story of steel. Narses began. This inner circle was where imperial secrets lived and died. Frail. He served Emperor Justinian I. Most eunuchs remained close to the throne. But far from the battlefield, some whispered too courtly for war. Narses. When Justinian's generals failed to reclaim Italy from the Ostrogoths, and even the mighty Belisarius faltered, it was Narses who was called. He was 70 years old, thin, and Narses led a massive army: Byzantine regulars, Gothic mercenaries, Armenian archers, against Totila, the Ostrogothic king of Italy. Suspicious of his influence, undermined him. But Narses had studied more than paperwork, broken for decades, began to fall back under Byzantine control. He was dismissed and quietly retired, perhaps out of jealousy, perhaps out of politics, terrain, supply chains, and above all, patience. Inviting attack. He understood loyalty, protected cities, quelled rebellions. In 552 AD, and at the Battle of Tajuni, Narses executed a quiet masterpiece. He arranged his troops in a shallow crescent. Totila's cavalry charged into the center, and were flanked on both sides by archers hidden behind spears. It was over swiftly. Totila was killed. Italy. This was not his only campaign. Narses ruled Italy in Justinian's name for years afterward. He restored law, but not without tension. The Empress Theodora, later, he did not protest. He returned to Constantinople, to the shadows from which he'd risen. He died in peace, in his bed, rarity for generals of his time. No statues of Narses remain, no grand funerals. His name is etched faintly in a few scrolls and chronicles. But he had done what others could not. Had led legions without heirs, waged war without ego, held absolute power. Without ever raising his voice, in a world of violent ambition, Narses proved that strength could whisper, and history would still listen. Walk through the corridors of the great palace. You might feel their presence, even if no name is carved in stone. They were always there at the emperor's side, behind the altar, before the throne. Yet they left few personal records, no dynasties, and rarely even a face in a mosaic. The eunuchs of Byzantium were many things, but above all, they were a mystery. Why did the Byzantine Empire elevate castrated men to such immense power? To Western eyes, this seemed unthinkable. But in Byzantium, it was strategic. Without wives, sons, or ambitions of succession, eunuchs were seen as loyal, safe, contained. They could not create rival bloodlines, and so, they could be trusted. But were they really? Some eunuchs like Narses held armies. Others managed imperial treasuries, guarded sacred relics, or whispered in the emperor's ear. They had no family. But they formed networks of their own quiet alliances, layered loyalties, secrets passed behind veils. They were not powerless. They were simply unrecorded. Even their origins are mysterious. Many were captured boys, taken from distant provinces: Armenia, Persia, Africa. Some were voluntarily castrated by ambitious families, seeking court favor. Others, we do not know. By the 9th century, there were so many eunuchs in court that specific roles were created. The parakoimanos, the one who sleeps beside the emperor, a literal guardian of imperial dreams. But their bodies were taboo. The church often debated whether they could serve at the altar. Were they impure? Or somehow, sacred? In Byzantine art, eunuchs are difficult to find. They are rarely named. Often dressed like other men, just slightly more modest. Sometimes shown beardless, soft-featured, standing just behind a patriarch or empress. It is an absence, that speaks volumes. Their lives were lived in between sacred and profane, between masculine and neuter, between visibility and vanishing. Even archaeology struggles. Tombs rarely say eunuch. Bones do not reveal castration after puberty. Artifacts offer little, perhaps a ring, a seal, a robe fragment. They remain elusive, but they were there, always there, guarding the keys, washing the relics, carrying the empire's secrets, and their own. While eunuchs served in silence, Others in the palace lived in a very different rhythm. Let us now walk, not beneath the burden of secrecy or sacrifice, but beneath golden ceilings, perfumed corridors, and glittering chandeliers of Byzantine splendor. This ... is the imperial court, a place where rank was measured in embroidery threads. And a single misstep could cost you everything. You rise late in the morning, unlike the laborers or monks. Your robes are woven with gold thread, your sandals imported from Alexandria. Your servants have already prepared a bath scented with rosewater and warmed with coals. You are a noble, perhaps even part of the emperor's extended family. Or a high-ranking bureaucrat, descended from senators, with the education of a theologian and the cunning of a trader. You begin your day not with labor, ... but with ritual. You enter the Chrysotriclinos, the golden audience hall. It smells of incense and old wood. A mechanical lion carved from bronze rests by the throne. It can roar ... when the emperor wills it. And yes, it will roar today. You bow. You don't speak unless addressed. The emperor, clad in jeweled robes, gestures lightly and you step forward to deliver your report. The language is formal, careful, slow. Everything here is choreographed. Even your sighs must be silent. Later, you attend a banquet. A harpsichord plays softly. Peacocks are served roasted, reassembled, and decorated with their feathers. Dates soaked in honey. Byzantine wine, dark and spiced. You laugh politely, but cautiously. Everyone here watches everyone. Your cousin may betray you in a week. Your rival may be exiled by morning. After the meal, there is debate in the imperial library. You argue the nature of Christ's duality with theologians. You cite Greek philosophers and recent patriarchal decrees. You disagree passionately, but never disrespectfully, because the wrong idea can cost you your position. At night, you retreat to your marble villa, overlooking the Bosphorus. You sit beneath hanging lamps, reading Aristotle aloud to your children. Your wife embroiders nearby, listening to the call of ships on the water. You are a creature of luxury, ... but also of constant fear, because in Byzantium, ... your robes may be soft, your titles impressive, but your status is never safe. As the sun sets behind the domes of Constantinople, ... the city doesn't sleep, it prays. To live in Byzantium was to breathe ritual, to walk through layers of the sacred, woven into every moment of the day. From the emperor to the beggar on the docks, every gesture had meaning. Every silence held divine weight. You begin the day with the sign of the cross, not just on your body, but traced on your bread, your door, and your thoughts. The hours are not counted by clocks, but by canonical hours. Matins, lauds, prime, terce, sext, none, vespers, and compline, each marked by bells, each a call to stillness. You may not be a monk, but you know the pattern. It's in your bones. Icons are not decorations. They are windows to heaven, to saints, to unseen truths. You do not merely look at an icon. You venerate it. You bow. You light candles. You whisper prayers into painted wood. Some say the icons weep. Others say they bleed. But all believe. Oh, they listen. Superstition and orthodoxy live side by side. You leave salt in doorways to keep demons away. You wear small crosses tucked into your robe seam. You avoid the evil eye, and seek blessings from priests who smell of beeswax and old scrolls. You do not cut your nails on Sundays. Do not whistle indoors. You do not walk past a black dog without crossing yourself. It may not be in scripture, but it is in your heart. The emperor himself is a sacred being, crowned in a divine ceremony, anointed like a priest. He is not just a ruler. He is the living image of God's will on earth. And when he enters Hagia Sophia ... even the air changes. The liturgy is sung, never spoken. It fills the space like incense, echoing from stone, reaching toward heaven. There is no rush, no haste, but only rhythm, only awe. And when death comes, as it always does, the body is washed in oil and myrrh, wrapped in white linen. An icon is placed in the hands. The soul's journey is just beginning. To be Byzantine was to live in layers of visible and invisible, to move through the world as if every shadow had a voice and every silence a presence. In Byzantium, power was wrapped in ceremony, and defended by silence. But when that silence broke, when betrayal or ambition threatened the divine order, punishment came not with noise, but with ritual. Not all justice here was violent, but all of it was deliberate. The law in Byzantium was a legacy of Rome, shaped by theology, empire, and fear. The Code of Justinian, compiled in the 6th century, stood as the backbone of imperial law, a complex mix of civil regulation, religious doctrine, and imperial decree. It governed everything, from land disputes to church appointments, to what color shoes certain ranks could wear. Yes. Your shoes were regulated. Purple was reserved for emperors. To wear it without permission was treason. But what happened when law was broken? The most famous punishment in Byzantium was blinding. Why? Because shedding imperial blood was taboo. Execution was sometimes too bold, too dangerous. So a rival's eyes were taken. Sometimes the tongue, occasionally a hand. The message was clear. You may live, but you will never rule. This wasn't cruelty for its own sake. It was strategy. A blinded noble couldn't lead armies. A eunuch couldn't claim the throne. A maimed general couldn't return to battle. These acts neutralized threats, without creating martyrs, and often they were done publicly. A ceremonial procession, a whispered charge of treason, a curtain drawn. A life changed in silence. For lesser crimes, there were fines, exiles, or tonsuring, the forced shaving of the head, marking someone as a monk, effectively erasing them from public life. Four theologians deemed heretical. Debates could lead to prison, forced recantation, or quiet exile to a monastery in the mountains. And yet, for all its punishments, the Byzantine legal system was highly advanced. There were judges, witnesses, and even appeals. Law students studied for years, trials were recorded, and often clemency was shown to the repentant. But only if they bent the knee, only if they knew their place to rule Byzantium was to hold a trembling empire in one hand, and a dagger of legal tradition in the other. Was to find yourself blinded, silenced, or exiled into a world where no one remembered your name. Justice in Byzantium, was not loud, it was whispered. It was sung in the liturgy, and carved into marble. It did not need blood to be feared, it's only memory. By the 15th century, the shimmering empire of Byzantium had grown dim. The domes still glowed gold in the morning sun, But the walls were cracked, the vaults nearly empty. And the great mosaic saints looked down upon an empire on the edge of silence. The eunuchs, once central to the pulse of the palace, had already begun to fade, not by rebellion, not by force, but by the slow erosion of relevance. The structure that had elevated them, an empire defined by ritual, hierarchy, and theological precision, was fraying. New powers were rising: Venetian merchants, Ottoman sultans, mercenaries who didn't bow to titles written in Greek. When Constantinople finally fell in 1453, the Emperor Constantine XI fought on the walls himself, no longer protected by layers of bureaucracy, eunuchs, or tradition. He died sword in hand. The city was no longer a palace, it was a battlefield, and when the smoke cleared, now the eunuch presence disappeared almost entirely. But they did not vanish from history without a trace. Their roles, advisors, keepers of secrets, mediators between power and policy, did not end. In the Ottoman court, eunuchs would once again rise, this time in black robes, guarding the Sultan's harem, whispering in Arabic instead of Greek. In the church, Byzantine liturgy endured. In Eastern Orthodox monasteries, the slow rhythms of ritual still echoed those practiced by the same eunuchs centuries before. Even in legal codes, echoes of Justinian's laws can be found in modern constitutions across Europe. And perhaps most haunting of all, was what was not left behind. So few names, so few writings, so few monuments. The eunuchs gave everything to an empire that did not allow them to pass anything on. No sons, no houses, no legacy, except in service. But maybe that was the point. Their legacy is not in marble statues, but in the fact that Byzantium lasted 1,000 years. Longer than Rome, longer than any Western kingdom. And though the empire fell, the memory remains. A whisper in candlelight, a shadow behind the throne, robe trailing softly through the pages of history. They were never meant to be remembered loudly, only faithfully. Thank you for joining me tonight on this long and quiet journey into the world of Byzantine eunuchs. May your rest now be deep, your dreams like theirs, silent and enduring.